Hey guys, Mr. T here yet again, and we are here today with our Fourth Amendment video. Yes, we already did all 5 of the First Amendment, speech, or religion, speech, press, assembly, petition. Then we did our Second Amendment on your right to own a gun, our Third Amendment on no quartering of troops. Now we are on our Fourth Amendment. Now, Fourth Amendment has to do with search and seizure. And this is not just search and seizure in your own home. It also means search and seizure of you. Like personally getting arrested and things. So before I get into it, I highly recommend you go watch these 3 Mobile America videos on probable cause, warrants, and curtilage, because I'm going to use those phrases a lot in here and I don't have time to actually explain them. Okay, so go watch those Mobile America videos, probable cause, warrants, and curtilage. Okay, doesn't matter what order, just watch those 3 and then come back. We'll wait. Alright, so now that you're back, let's get into the Fourth Amendment. So, a little bit of history behind the Fourth Amendment on why we have it. So, before our revolution, before we became the United States, when we were still under British control, the British would issue warrants. And as you know in the video, because you went and watched it, general warrants allowed the British to just... They would give a general warrant to officers or government officials, then they would burst into your house and just search everywhere, throw things around, tear your house up, do whatever they wanted almost, or search wherever they wanted. And it would happen, and there would be no cause for it. They'd just be like, oh, I don't like that guy, I'm going to issue a general warrant for his house. And that's what was happening all the time, when, especially as we got closer to our revolution. We even mentioned, or Thomas Jefferson even put in the Declaration under the grievance section about general warrants. Alright, so we did that, and then after we became a country, they're like, hey, you know, there are going to be times we're going to have to, you know, go into people's houses, especially if we have, like, a good reason they committed a crime, but let's protect them so we can't just bust down their door. And that's what the Fourth Amendment is for. It's here to protect not just you and your property, but also you as a physical individual being to not be just arrested. So, let's get into it. The first thing I want to get into is I keep talking to you guys about how all these different amendments, some apply to states, some don't, and it's back and forth. So, in the court case, Mapp v. Ohio of 1961, M-A-P-P v. Ohio, that was the court case that the Supreme Court said the Fourth Amendment does apply to the states. Alright? So, the Fourth Amendment does apply to states, so state officials and government agencies have to follow it too. Now, kind of moving into the rest of the Fourth Amendment. So, the Fourth Amendment, basically a couple things that it says is, when you want to issue a warrant, because this whole thing comes back to warrants, okay? You can't just have a cop burst into your house and take you anything, or if you're in your home, he can't just come in and arrest you in your home unless he has a warrant. Now, to have those warrants be issued, and like I said, I went over warrants and the different types in the warrant video of Mobile America, so go watch that if you haven't. Now, for a warrant to be issued for anything, whether it be an arrest warrant, a search warrant, whatever, you have to have 4 factors. Well, 3, and then they all kind of go under the first factor. So the first factor is you need to have a neutral and detached magistrate issue the warrant. Magistrate is just a fancy word for judge, and it sometimes uses the word lawyer, but the like 99% of the time, it's usually a judge who issues the warrant. Now, neutral and detached, what does that mean? The 3 things that go under that first have to deal with that. The first thing is the judge or magistrate cannot gain anything from issuing that warrant. So, like, if you issue a warrant and they go and, you know, take over a property or something, and then that property, the things on the property get put up for auction or something, and the judge can go buy it at, like, a steal price or something, things like that, that's actually up in the air, okay? There are cases where that's happened and the judge got in trouble for it, and there's cases where the judge just, you know, it was a coincidence. But let's say something happens where a judge were to go and issue a warrant to his competition. You know, there's an election coming up, or there's a position opening above him, and he issues a warrant for his competition, hurting his reputation. That judge is now benefiting because he issued a warrant for his competition. Things like that. And like I said, these are just very broad and just open examples. There are so many or more examples out there. But the judge who issues the warrant cannot gain from issuing that warrant. Now, the next thing is the magistrate or judge has to have training. He has to have training in what probable cause would be, you know, how to issue a warrant, you know, what the cop or the federal or whoever is going to be doing the searching, what they have to bring to him first. They have to have training in all that. And the last thing is they cannot have, the person issuing the warrant cannot have an association with the prosecution. So you have a guy who people think committed a crime, okay? The people who are going to go in and arrest him or take his things and then put him on trial, the people who are going to actually be the ones trying to, put that other guy in jail, okay, that's called the prosecution, okay? The judge cannot have an association with them. Like, now, like, if they know each other in passing, that's fine. But he can't be a partner in that prosecutor's law firm or something like that. Because then he'd be gaining from, issuing that warrant. So the judge issuing the warrant, or the magistrate, cannot, have an association with the prosecution as, like, on a professional level. Okay, so those are the three things that fall under the neutral and detached magistrate. Now, how we already went over probable cause, warrants, and curtilage in the in my Mobile America videos. Now, kind of getting into those little. So, first thing is, to issue a warrant, you need probable cause. Now, what is probable cause? We already went over it in Mobile America, but when it comes to issuing a warrant for search and seizure, probable cause is up in the air. There have been several court cases that set tests, and they're like, if it meets X, Y, and Z, then it's probable cause. There have been other court cases that are like, nope, if it hits A, B, and C, it's probable cause. Okay? Now I got that song stuck in my head. But there have been so many, they don't have a set standard like the Miller test or the Lemon test in some of our other amendments. So they kind of fallen back, and by they I mean like the Supreme Court and stuff, they've kind of fallen back onto something called totality of the circumstance, where they take each and every situation and judge it based off that. And that basically means, I use this example in my actual Mobile America video. So like, if someone wants to arrest someone, okay, walking down the side of the street, if they're walking down the side of the street with a trench coat on and their hoodie up in the middle of a snowstorm, that's not probable cause thinking that person's shady or something, because it's the middle of a snowstorm. But if they're walking down the middle of the street with a trench coat and their hood up at 1 in the morning in Arizona in the middle of summer, that's suspicious, because only a lunatic would do that. I just called myself a lunatic because I've done that in the middle of Arizona before. So, but the thing is, it's like the situation they base probable cause off the situation. If someone's walking around like this, kind of looking all shady with their hands in their pockets, that could be probable cause. But if the same person is walking down the side of the street just, slouching back like that, that's not probable cause. He's not doing anything, or at least, if he's not walking away from like a place that just got robbed or something. So that's probable cause. Now, when it comes to so you have probable cause, you got your warrant, you got your neutral and detached magistrate, you got all that. What can you actually do with this warrant you now have? So, there's a couple things. We already went over warrants. So, first I'm going to go over a search warrant. So, if you get a search warrant, you can go into someone's house and you can search. Now, here's the thing. If you go get a search warrant to search someone's house, you have to have a couple things. You have to say what you're looking for and where you expect to find it. Okay? A cop cannot just show up at your house with a general warrant saying, hey, here's a warrant, I'm going to search the entire house. They can't do that. So, if a cop comes into your house and they say they're looking for like a rifle or something, okay, they can't go looking in tiny little drawers where any reasonable person would understand that a rifle wouldn't fit there. Okay? And they can't go looking in other rooms. So, if a cop says, here, I have a warrant, and their warrant is for like the living room, you can go and close the bathroom door and they're not allowed to look in there. Now, here's the other thing. This goes not just for when they already have a warrant, but even if they don't have a warrant. If they see something, if they see a crime being committed, if they hear someone screaming bloody murder or for their life, if they actually see or hear or even smell an illegal activity happening, so like if someone's smoking something, they can move in without a warrant. They don't have to wait to get a warrant. They can move in, even if it's behind closed doors. If a cop is walking by your house on the sidewalk or something and he hears someone screaming for their life, he can come bust down your door and help them, okay? He doesn't need to wait for a warrant to go and do his job. Okay? Same thing applies with curtilage. Okay? Like I said, curtilage is like the outside, basically your backyard. If stuff happens on the property around you, or if on a public sidewalk someone places one of these puppies, okay, and they climb on it and look into your backyard, they never cross over into your yard. They're on the public area the whole time, and they look over and see something happening, they can call the cops can move in, and that's not illegal, because they never went onto your property, okay? One final thing before I go. No, actually, two final things. First off is, The Fourth Amendment does not protect borders or airports, okay? They can, if you go to a border or an airport, they can search you, period. They don't need probable cause, they don't need anything, and the Supreme Court has upheld that. They're like, yeah, that's okay. If you are in an area that would expect, like, something bad to happen, like in airports or you know, at the border where people could come in and try to do things to hurt the United States, they don't need any probable cause or any reasonable suspicion to search you. And the last thing is, ladies and gentlemen, is when it comes to like what cops can use without needing a warrant to search and stuff like that, it really has come down to one major thing, and is the device they're using open to the general public? So like a stepladder on a public sidewalk, cops can use that. They don't need a warrant because everyone in the public has it. Now, if they wanted to use a satellite drone or a satellite or something like that, they would need a warrant because the average person can't access a satellite. Now, I brought up drones though. Drones have been a major touchy subject because anyone can walk down to the convenience store, pick up a drone that big for $20 and fly it over there and fly it high in the air and look into their neighbor's yard without ever actually crossing the boundary into their neighbor's yard. So the Supreme Court did rule that drones they can't be used, but that was like 20 plus years ago when you had to be like rich or a government agency to own drones. So I do believe, and I've done research, and I can't find anything right now. The Supreme Court's been silent recently, but watch, drones are probably going to be a major thing that's coming up in Fourth Amendment cases soon because of how easy access they have. And if the general public has access, cops don't need a warrant to use it. So, ladies and gentlemen, I am out of time. I went fairly over, but like I said, the Fourth, Fifth, and Sixth Amendment are super long amendments. I'll try to cut the other two down. So, stay tuned for the Fifth Amendment, and that is your right to not be charged twice for the same crime called double jeopardy, and I don't mean the game. So, stick around, ladies and gentlemen. Mr. T signing off. Stay beautiful, Americans, and I am getting super overhyped because I just watched tennis in the Olympics. Yes, I said tennis. Stay beautiful.